The first time I felt the old spirit stir inside a rehearsal room, I was standing barefoot on polished wood, panting after the 14th run-through of our debut choreography. Summer humidity hung over Seoul, clinging to my training shirt like resentment, and the neon reflection of the company logo, Phoenix Entertainment, skimmed across the mirrors. Our mentor Yura uncoiled a silk scarf from her wrist and paced between us, eyes liquid black, like someone listening to a melody only she could hear. When she lifted one hand, the air pricked with static. All 5 trainees fell silent. We recognized that current. It always came just before a spirit answered a call. Yura inhaled as if drawing breath for 2. Then sang a single line, just 8 beats, syllables soft as down. As the notes floated, the floorboards turned cool beneath my feet. A brittle wind rustled through the rehearsal hall, even though the windows were shut. Ji-yeon, who trained next to me, gasped and steadied herself on the bar. The scarf around Yura's wrist flared, tails of fabric twisting like weightless foxfire. Then the feeling vanished, leaving only the faint vinegar scent of old wood. Yura grinned, sat us again, she said. Let the hook live inside you. No one dared mention what we'd felt. In Seoul's idol industry, possession was just another production expense. Studios hired madang to broker contracts with mountain gods, sea maidens, wandering poets, anything to give a group that extra shimmer on stage. We were used to small hauntings, a protective tiger growl embedded in a bass line, a hand drum inhabited by a shaman ancestor, but Yura's energy was different. Where other spirits felt warm, hers was sharp, vulpine, edged with hunger. That evening, stragglers drifted home while I lingered to practice harmonies. Yura stayed too, perched on the piano bench scribbling revisions. At midnight, she closed her notebook and beckoned. Min-seon, you have the easiest heart to open, she said, tapping my sternum. A song can nest here with hardly any coaxing. That's good. It means audiences will trust you. I flushed under the praise. Yura was a legend. Main vocalist of Lux, the girl group that had ruled charts a decade earlier, until she vanished after a scandal involving a mysterious collapse on live television. Now she trained rookies, and any attention from her felt like benediction. She offered me earphones. Listen, it's rough, but you'll hear the bones. The track slipped over my skull, looping whistles, syncopated claps, a sugar, bright refrain that repeated like someone tapping the same nerve. Catchy, but the more I listened, the more uneasy I became. Under the synths, I heard whispery consonants, almost consonant with curses my grandmother used to mutter when foxes prowled her dreams. I returned the earphones. It's addicting, I said carefully. That's the point. Hook is a spell. If you hum it, it owns you. Her smile curved fox-like. I laughed, pretending to take it as a joke. 3 days later, we attended Phoenix's quarterly evaluation showcase, where trainees from rival companies mingled under the cavernous roof of Jamsil Arena. As I warmed up backstage, the latest viral group, Nova, rehearsed their number, a bright summer anthem that had already racked up 10 million pre-release views. Their leader, Jae-hoo's voice sparkled even in soundcheck. I couldn't stop sneaking glances. Nova was everything the 5 of us wanted to be. But if they debuted first, industry buzz might move on before Phoenix could launch our group. When their rehearsal ended, Yura appeared, chatting with Jae-hoo like an affectionate aunt. She complimented their high-note run, then offered them a humming exercise. I recognized the melody, the rough demo she'd played for me, now smoothed into a lullaby. The Nova girls thanked her and began humming as they left the stage. The showcase started. We nailed our routine. Adrenaline blurred the lights into a river of gold. As I bowed, I glanced at Yura. Satisfaction gleamed in her eyes. Not pride, something sharper. Next came Nova, music cued, spotlights strobed, and Jae-hoo missed her first note. Not a slip, her voice fractured mid-air like glass. Panic skittered across the group. Harmonies fell apart. Someone burst into tears before the chorus. By the time stagehands drew the curtain, the audience buzzed with morbid shock. A sore throat at the worst possible moment, commentators would say, but I had heard the husky crack that split Jeju's voice. It sounded like a fox's claw on bone. Backstage chaos erupted, medics, managers, streaming reporters. Yurei remained calm. Vocals, she told executives, happens. Only I saw her let the silk scarf slide forward, revealing the pale underside of her wrist. Red lines rose beneath the skin, as though 9 invisible tails had pressed against her veins and left prints. That night, I couldn't sleep. I opened my window, letting humid air carry the noise of Hongdae streets. Somewhere, a busker strummed love songs. Cicadas answered. I remembered stories my grandmother told, how a gumiho the night-held fox called enter a person through song, coiling in the lungs until every breath belonged to it. Gumihos lured victims with haunting lullabies, devoured their hearts, then mimicked their voices so no one suspected. In modern Seoul, the tales lingered as metaphors for toxic relationships or viral earworms. But earlier in the rehearsal room, I'd felt claws brushing my chest when Yura sang. I decided to investigate the only way trainees ever gained information. I offered to run errands for the staff. While fetching sheet music from archives, I rifled through Yura's old performance logs. Lux's final tour schedule included a note. Seoul-san retreat, spiritual recalibration. I cross-referenced the date with newspaper clips. The week after that trip, Lux's main dancer collapsed mid-concert, convulsing. Tongues clucked about overwork, but backstage rumors blamed a fox spirit Yura had tried to tame and failed. The following afternoon, I arrived early to the studio. Yura was already there, face blank as if she'd never slept. I need you to record guide vocals, she said. We move fast now. The window before competition closes soon. I sat in the booth while she coached through the talkback mic. When I faltered on a tricky modulation, frustration flashed in her dark irises, and the studio lights flickered. A breath of cold brushed my cheeks. I sensed the gumiho pressing forward, eager to lash at me the way it had attacked Nova. But Yura shut her eyes, wrestled with herself, and the tension eased. After the session, I confronted her in the empty corridor. What lives inside you? I asked. She pressed a hand to the mirror panel, watching her reflection as though it belonged to someone else. I made a pact, she murmured. I was 20, desperate to protect my group from a jealous CEO. The gumiho offered power to silence anyone who tried to sabotage us. I thought I'd control it, feed it only the hearts of our enemies. Instead, it decided everyone was an enemy. Her laugh cracked. Now it sings through me. I keep it leashed so you girls can rise. Sabotage isn't protection, I said, voice shaking. You're destroying other artists. The industry devours the weak anyway, she replied. At least with me, Phoenix will stand at the top. She reached out, perhaps to persuade or to apologize, I couldn't tell. But the scarf slipped again, showing the faint glow of tails swirling beneath her skin. I stepped back, resolved. That evening I visited Gwenjan Market's night maze, past silk vendors and hot tote stalls until I found Auntie Hua, a mudang rumored to broker karma spirits, ones who healed rather than harmed. She listened while I poured out everything. A gumiho anchored by a melody, Auntie Hua said, brow furrowing. That's old magic woven from longing. You can't kill it. Songs never die. But you can change its key. She handed me a small counterlin. 2 crossed reeds tied with red thread. Compose your own counter. Perform it simultaneously. If your spirit's voice overwhelms the fox, its spell will unravel. My spirit, I echoed. You already hold one, she said, tapping my throat. Every singer does. Ask it to rise. I wasn't sure any spirit resided in me, but desperation breeds faith. Back at the dorm, I dug through folk records, searching for lullabies my mother sang when I was small. One tune surfaced, Barum Barum, about wind that carries sorrow away. I modernized the rhythm, layered harmonies, and hid the reed talisman inside my in-ear monitor case. Phoenix's next target was the M2 countdown stage, an event broadcast to millions. Ura drilled us for 14-hour days. When exhaustion blurred my vision, I remembered Jijan's shaky inhale during that first rehearsal and pushed on. Meanwhile, rumors spread. Nova's throats were still raw, and a new group, Lumen, landed hospital beds with unexplained fevers after attending a workshop where Ura demonstrated breath control. No one connected dots aloud, but everyone felt the pattern. Wherever Phoenix went, rivals fell. The night before M2, our 5 members sat in the dorm kitchen, noodles steaming, TV muted. Jijon whispered, "Do you feel others when Ura sings?" "Yes," I admitted. The other 3 nodded. Fear shimmered between us like oil on water. "I'll handle it," I told them, during the encore. They looked at me as if I were insane, but no one protested. Sometimes leadership chooses you, especially when elders have failed. Show day arrived. Backstage smelled of hairspray, nerves, and orange energy drinks. The production crew fitted us with body mics. Ura floated around us in a crimson suit that matched the silk scarf, now knotted so the tails hung like ribbons of blood. Her smile was newly carnivorous. "Trust me," she said, and kissed my forehead. Cold seeped into my skull where her lips touched. We went on stage. Cameras orbited, lights burst, crowd roared. K-pop slogans that bounced off the stadium dome. Our opening number soared. I felt my own voice ring pure, untainted. For a moment I wondered if I'd imagined everything. Then Ura stepped into the wings to conduct the encore. The backing track shifted. A flute line. Her hidden curse hook spiraled over sub-bass. I sensed the fox stir. The roar of thousands softened into a hush as attention funneled toward us. Tension gathered like breath held across the audience. In the wings, Ura lifted one hand and phantom tails unfurled behind her, translucent white fire slashing the darkness. Spotlights flickered. Somewhere in the pit, an electronic amp popped as if bitten through. If I didn't act now, anyone who hummed this encore tomorrow would wake up voiceless. Or worse. I pressed my in-ear monitor, fingering the reed talisman, closing my eyes. I summoned the lullaby of wind. A hush inside me opened, as if a sliding door revealed a hill beneath moonlight grass bending. A gentle breath passing over. Something stood there. Not beast, not human, but the collective sigh of every audience that ever listened in hope. It stepped into my lungs, weightless but certain, and I began to sing over Ura's melody. Baram, baram, sarang andula moram baram. Soft, sustained, then climbing into a descant that braided through the fox hook. The 2 tunes collided like warm water meeting cold, swirled, sought dominance. I opened my eyes. Pale wind coiled around me, ribbons of air that glimmered cyan where Ura's foxfire glowed white. The audience felt it too. A murmur rippled through them. Not fear, but curiosity. The curse's earworms stuttered. People stopped mouthing along. I stepped forward, letting the wind spirit push notes higher. My members joined, sensing shift without knowing details. Our 5 voices locked in close harmony, amplifying the counterhook. Hook, Ura's face contorted. The gumi hose surfaced fully, pupils narrowing into slits. Through the monitors I heard her amplified whisper thread under ours. Mine? Mine. The foxfire tails snapped, thrashing like cables in a storm. Speakers squealed feedback. The stadium's giant LED screen flickered through glitch, art a nine-tailed silhouette glitching between frames. I spun. Dancing choreography never practiced, but each move carved sigils of sound in the air. The wind spirit followed, funneling into vortexes that sucked at the foxfire. The cursed hook melted, notes unraveling like sandcastles in surf. Yura screamed. Not with her own voice, but with a chorus of stolen timbres. Jehu's, Lehman's, countless others. The sound tore through amplifiers, sparks raining reached her. She staggered, scarf burning from within. 9 ghostly tails writhed, trying to claw free. I held her wrists. Let it go. It will kill me, she choked, eyes human again for an instant. No, it will leave you empty, but alive. I sang the lullaby's final cadence straight into her face, pushing breath into her face, pushing breath into her face, sucked upward like ashes in a vent. With a shattering pop, the last of the foxfire vanished into the rafters, flitting into the night sky where it dispersed among city lights, perhaps to haunt music streams ecstatic but stripped of hooks. Yura collapsed. Stagehands rushed. EMTs following. Cameras cut to commercial. The crowd erupted, the kind of roar reserved for miracle plays. Later, backstage, I sat beside Yura on a folding chair while medics checked her vitals. She looked older. Skin sallow without the fox's glamour, but her eyes were soft. I heard your voice before I blacked out, she whispered. It reminded me why I started singing, before fame. Hold on to that, Minzyo. The gumiho came from my fear. Never bargain with yours. I squeezed her hand. Rest. The company'll find you help. Whether Phoenix would protect or discard her, I didn't know. Power brokers preferred shiny myths to tarnished mentors, but that was beyond my control. Morning headlines screamed, live broadcast, Glitch wows fans, new girl group saves show, legendary vocal coach collapses. Comment sections buzzed with conspiracy theories, stage effects gone wrong, experimental AI filters. But no one guessed the truth. Spirits seldom make the news. Seoul prefers metaphor. We trainees returned to the dorm, exhaustion bone deep, yet buoyed by relief. Kleur. Brewed barley tea. We sat on the floor, shoulders touching. What now? She asked. We practice, I said. Without shortcuts, without foxes. They nodded. A sacred pact among worn-out teens. Congratulations arrived from unexpected places. Nova's leader, Jahui, sent throat lozenges and a handwritten note. I don't know what you did, but my voice is coming back. Lumen's manager delivered a basket of jujube tea. It fell like a blessing, proof the curse had dissolved. One evening, I climbed the rooftop. Seoul sprawled below, neon veins pulsing. I hummed Barum Barum into the wind that whipped laundry lines. Answering gusts braided through my melody, playful. The spirit still lingered, gentle as the breeze, but it didn't try to enter me. We existed side by side, artist and inspiration mutual, consenting. Behind me, footstep. Yura approached, thinner but steady, bandages on her wrists where tails once pressed. She wore plain clothes, no silk scarf. Discharged today, she said. Company offered hush money to retire abroad. I refused. I'm starting over. Will you teach again? Maybe, if I earn the right. But first I'll ask forgiveness. From those girls, from myself. She looked at the city. And you? Ready to debut? I breathed deep, yes. But this time, the only hooks we cast will be honest ones. She smiled, sorrowful and proud. Then let me hear, I sang. The wind carried my voice across rooftops, between billboards and crane towers, weaving through alleyways where street drummers practiced rhythms older than skyscrapers. Somewhere in the weave I felt new spirits stirring. Hungry, yes, but curious rather than cruel. The city listened, and I sang brighter, believing that in Seoul, where ghosts and pop hooks commingle, a girl could choose which songs possessed her and to whom she offered her heart.